The culture of Poland is closely connected with its intricate thousand-year history. Its unique character developed as a result of its geography at the confluence of various European regions, with origins in the culture of the early Slavs. Over time, Polish culture has been profoundly influenced by its interweaving ties with the Germanic, Latinate and Byzantine worlds, as well as in continual dialogue with the many other ethnic groups and minorities living in Poland. The people of Poland have traditionally been seen as hospitable to artists from abroad and eager to follow cultural and artistic trends popular in other countries. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the Polish focus on cultural advancement often took precedence over political and economic activity. These factors have contributed to the versatile nature of Polish art, with all its complex nuances. Nowadays, Poland is a highly developed country that retains its tradition. Cultural history of Poland can be traced back to the Middle Ages. In its entirety, it can be divided into the following historical, philosophical and artistic periods. Culture of medieval Poland: Renaissance, Baroque, Enlightenment, Romanticism, Positivism, Young Poland, Interbellum, World War II, People's Republic of Poland, and modern. Language: Polish is a language of the Latinate subgroup of West Slavic languages, used throughout Poland and by Polish minorities in other countries. Its written standard is the Polish alphabet, which corresponds to the Latin alphabet with several additions. Despite the pressure of non-Polish administrations in Poland, who have often attempted to suppress the Polish language, a rich literature has developed over the centuries. The language is currently the largest in speakers of the West Slavic group. It is the second most widely spoken Slavic language, after Russian and ahead of Ukrainian. Polish is mainly spoken in Poland. Poland is one of the most linguistically homogeneous European countries. Nearly 97% of Poland's citizens declare Polish is the mother tongue. Philosophy. The history of philosophy in Poland parallels the evolution of philosophy in Europe in general. Polish philosophy drew upon the broader currents of European philosophy, and in turn contributed to the growth. Among the most momentous Polish contributions were made in the 13th century by the scholastic philosopher and scientist Julo, and in the 16th century by the Renaissance polymath Nicolaus Copernicus. Subsequently, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth partook in the intellectual ferment of the Enlightenment, which for the multi-ethnic Commonwealth ended not long after the partitions and political annihilation that would last for the next 123 years, until the collapse of the three partitioning empires in World War I. The period of Messianism, between the November 1830 and January 1863 uprisings, reflected European romantic and idealist trends, as well as a Polish yearning for political resurrection. It was a period of maximalist metaphysical systems. The collapse of the January 1863 uprising prompted an agonizing reappraisal of Poland's situation. Poles gave up their earlier practice of measuring the goals by their aspirations and buckled down to hard work and study. Positivist, wrote the novelist Bolesław Prus's friend, Julian Okorowicz, was anyone who bases assertions on verifiable evidence, who does not express himself categorically about doubtful things, and does not speak at all about those that are inaccessible. The 20th century brought a new quickening to Polish philosophy. There was growing interest in Western philosophical currents. Rigorously trained Polish philosophers made substantial contributions to specialized fields, to psychology, the history of philosophy, the theory of knowledge, and especially mathematical logic. Jan Łukasiewicz gained world fame with his concept of many-valued logic and his Polish notation. Alfred Tarski's work in truth theory won him world renown. After World War II, for over 4 decades, world-class Polish philosophers and historians of philosophy such as Władysław Tartakiewicz continued the work, often in the face of adversities occasioned by the dominance of a politically enforced official philosophy. The phenomenologist Roman Ingarden did influential work in aesthetics and in a Husserl-style metaphysics. His student Karol Wojtyla acquired a unique influence on the world stage as Pope John Paul II. Cuisine. Polish foods include kielbasa, pierogi, pisy, kopytka, golubki, śledzi, ugers, schabowy, osypek and much more. Traditionally, foods such as soups flaky, rosol, zupa ogórkowa, zupa grybowa, zupa pomidorowa have been prepared in large vessels intended for groups, are often necessitating the use of devices such as oars in the preparation. Traditionally, hospitality is very important. In the Middle Ages, as the cities of Poland grew larger in size and the food markets developed, the culinary exchange of ideas progressed and people got acquainted with new dishes and recipes. Some regions became well known for the type of sausage they made, and many sausages of today still carry those original names. The peasants acknowledged their honorable judgment, allowing them to maintain nourished for longer periods of time. The most important drink is vodka. The world's first written mention of the drink was in 1405 in Akatia Grodzki, the court documents from the Palatinate of Sandomierz in Poland. At the time, the word vodka referred to chemical compounds such as medicines and cosmetics cleansers, while the popular beverage was called gortsorka, which is also the source of Ukrainian horolka. The word vodka written in Cyrillic appeared first in 1533, in relation to a medicinal drink brought from Poland to Russia by the merchants of Kiev and Rus. According to a 2009 Ernst & Young report, Poland is Europe's third largest beer producer, Germany with 103 million hectolitres, UK with 49.5 million hectolitres, Poland with 36.9 million hectolitres. Following consecutive growth in the home market, Polish Union of the Brewing Industry Employers, which represents approximately 90% of the Polish beer market, announced during the annual Brewing Industry Conference that consumption of beer in 2008 rose to 94 litres per capita, or 35,624 million hectolitres sold on domestic market. Statistically, a Polish consumer drinks some 92 litres of beer a year, which places it a third behind Germany. Drinking beer as a basic drink was typical during the Middle Ages. Wine is recently becoming more popular. In fact, Polish mead, a honey wine, was a traditional drink dating back also to the Middle Ages. Soft drinks include napoje gazowane, napoje bez alkoholu, like water, tea, juice, coffee or compote. Compote is a non-alcoholic beverage made of boiled fruit, optionally with sugar and spices, served hot to cold. It can be made of one type of fruit or a mixture, including apples, peaches, pears, strawberries or sour cherries. Also, SUSZ is type of compote made with dried fruits, most commonly apples, apricots, figs. Traditionally served on Christmas Eve. Among holiday meals, there is a traditional Christmas Eve supper called Wigilia. Another special occasion is Fat Thursday, a Catholic feast celebrated on the last Thursday before the Lent. Traditionally it is a day when people eat larger amounts of sweets and cakes that are afterwards forbidden until Easter Day. Architecture. Polish cities and towns reflect the whole spectrum of European styles. Poland's eastern frontier is used to mark the outermost boundary of the influences of Western architecture on the continent. History has not been good to Poland's architectural monuments. However, ancient structures have survived. Castles, churches, and stately buildings are often unique in the regional European context. Some of them have been painstakingly restored, like Warel Castle, or completely reconstructed after being destroyed in the Second World War, including the Old Town and Royal Castle in Warsaw, as well as the old towns of Gdansk and Wrocław. The architecture of Gdansk is mostly Hanseatic, common in cities along the Baltic Sea and in the northern part of Central Eastern Europe. The architectural style of Wrocław is representative of German architecture, since it was a part of the German states for centuries. The center of Kazimierz Dolny on the Vistula is a good example of a well-preserved medieval town. Also, local variation of Renaissance architecture has been developed called "It has preserved" in Lublin as Lublin Old Town and Old City of Zamość. In Zamość, Poland's ancient capital, Kraków, ranks among the best preserved Gothic and Renaissance urban complexes in Europe. Meanwhile, the legacy of the Kresy marchlands of Poland's eastern regions with Wilno and Lwow as two major centers for the arts played a special role in these developments, with Roman Catholic Church architecture deserving special attention. In Vilnius there are about 40 Baroque and Renaissance churches. In Lviv there are Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque urban churches with influences of the Orthodox and Armenian Church. One of the best preserved examples of the modernist architecture in Europe is located in Katowice, Upper Silesia, designed and built in the 1930s. Interesting buildings were also constructed during the Communist era in the style of socialist realism. Some remarkable examples of modern architecture were erected more recently. Art. Polish art has always reflected European trends while maintaining its unique character. The Kraków school of historicist painting, developed by Jan Maciejko, produced monumental portrayals of customs and significant events in Polish history. Stanislaw Witkiewicz was an ardent supporter of realism in Polish art, its main representative being Józef Chelmonski. The Młode Polskie movement witnessed the birth of modern Polish art and engaged in a great deal of formal experimentation led by Jacek Malczewski, Stanisław Wyspiański, Józef Mayhofer, and a group of Polish impressionists. Artists of the 20th century avant-garde represented various schools and trends. The art of Tadeusz Makowski was influenced by Cubism, while Władysław Strzemiński and Henryk Staszewski worked within the constructivist idiom. Distinguished contemporary artists include Roman Opelka, Leon Tarasowicz, Jerzy Nowosielski, Wojciech Siodmak, Miroslaw Balka, and Katarzyna Kazara and Zbigniew Warziel. In the younger generation, the most celebrated Polish sculptors include Zawary Dunikowski, Katarzyna Kobro, Alina Sapachanov, and Magdalena Abakanowicz. Since the interwar years, Polish art and documentary photography has enjoyed worldwide recognition. In the 60s, the Polish Poster School was formed, with Henryk Tomaszewski and Waldemar Wierzy at its head. Music. Artists from Poland, including famous composers like Karol Lipinski, Frédéric Chopin, Witold Lutosławski, and traditional, regionalized folk musicians, create a lively and diverse music scene, which even recognizes its own music genres, such as poezia śpiewana. Today in Poland you can find trance, techno, house music, and heavy metal. The origin of Polish music can be traced as far back as the 13th century, from which manuscripts have been found in Stary Sacz, containing polyphonic compositions related to the Parisian Notre Dame school. Other early compositions, such as the melody of Bogrodzyka, may also date back to this period. The first known notable composer, however, Mikołaj Z. Radomir, lived in the 15th century. The melody of Bogzy by an unknown composer was a coronation polonaise for Polish kings. During the 16th century, mostly two musical groups, both based in Kraków and belonging to the king and archbishop of Warel, led the rapid innovation of Polish music. Composers writing during this period include Wacław Zamotul, Mikołaj Zielenski, and Mikołaj Gomułka. Diomedes Cato, a native-born Italian who lived in Kraków from about the age of 5, became one of the most famous lutanists at the court of Sigismund III. He imported some of the musical styles from southern Europe and blended them with native folk music. Among the best classical modern composers are Polish musicians Witold Lutosławski, Krzysztof Penderecki and Henryk Górecki. The Polish world-renowned virtuosos of classical music of all time include composer Karol Lipinski, Artur Rubinstein, composer Ignacy Paderewski, Mieczysław Horsowski, Wanda Wilkomirska, Christian Zimmerman. Jazz musician Krzysztof Komeda was known after World War II especially for his movie soundtracks, including movies directed by Roman Polanski, but also for his 1966 album Astigmatic. Poland has one of the strongest and best respected death metal scenes in Europe. One of the biggest record labels of death metal in Poland is Empire Records. The death metal band Vader is considered the most successful Polish heavy metal act and have gained commercial and critical praise internationally. Their career spans more than 3 decades with many international tours. They are often seen as a huge inspiration on modern death metal. Behemoth and Decapitated have found significant success inside and outside Poland. Both have toured extensively across Europe, America and, in the case of Decapitated, have recently toured Australia and New Zealand. Recently inductee Hate, Trauma, Cryonics, Lost Soul and Luxoculture have started to become well known outside of Poland. There is also an active grindcore and a healthy black metal scenes as well, the latter led by Graveland, Darzamat, Katazu, Infernal War and Visania.